I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I just wanted to get really good advice and kind of like not waste years trying to figure it all out, because when you start a business, you're going to make a billion mistakes. And I wanted to try and avoid making as many mistakes as possible. So hooking up with people that have already been successful and have been in the business for 20 years, to me, was like a no-brainer.
Well, here we are. Welcome to No Surprises, a look inside the ambitious, joyful, and occasionally terrifying journey of creators. I feel like every single time I introduce this podcast, I say, well, here we are. Because here we are, indeed. In fact,
here we are. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
I feel like I say that every day. I'm like, well, here we are. So what are we going to do about it?
Right. So it's very much like, I'm here. What next?
Yes.
What's happening?
I feel like is kind of my life in a nutshell at the moment. And I know Kelsey can attest to this for herself, but a lot of moments are just showing up at meetings and being like, I'm here.
Like me with my wet hair. Yeah. I was like, can I have 5 extra minutes? Because I'm still in the shower on the phone with you.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
You are the second interviewer, a person that we've interviewed who has mentioned using their cell phone in the shower. Do you actually use your phone in the shower?
I have left it right on like the corner of the sink, and I have reached out
down the leg
shower to be like, what's happening? Yes, I'm not proud of it, but it's the truth.
I mean, there's no shame in that.
Can you get electrocuted from your cell phone?
I have so many questions about this, but before we do this, I knew this was going to happen. I'm going to introduce you. Okay. Today with us, we have one of our all-time favorite people, not like in a working space, just in like the world. Valerie Gangas is a published author and the co-founder and COO of Juniper Holiday Home, a vacation rental and property management business that exemplifies her passion for hospitality and service. I feel like that is the simplest way to distill what you do, but words escape me when I'm describing who you are. You and I met, of all places, in a Facebook group. We were just trying to figure this out. We think it was like 8 years ago. And
8 or 9, it's around that time. It's been a while.
Gosh, we've really chopped it up over the years, right? We've worked together on so many different projects.
Chopped it right up.
Yeah, I think you guys have done like 8, maybe 9 websites for me, and then other people that I know. I don't even know what that number is. Lots of websites.
We want to talk about community. And when we were going through and we were thinking about this, I was like, we have to talk to Val, because I never know where you are. I never know where you're located at any given time, but I always know that where you are, you have created a home for yourself. And I think it's amazing that you have now turned this into a business, creating really welcoming, hospitable spaces for other people. I want to start by talking about Juniper, and maybe you can take us on like a little tour of how you got to Juniper to start.
Yeah. So long story short, I have been in real estate since 2006. I started off in real estate sales in Chicago, working for Rubloff. But at the same time, like, I have been in hospitality, the restaurant and bar business, my entire life, starting with Let Us Entertain You at 15 years old, and then working with my dad running his restaurants for 15 years. So I kind of did a little bit of real estate, mainly focused on hospitality, again, restaurants and bars. But in my heart, I always wanted to open hotels. And I did feel very intrigued by real estate. So it started off that I moved out to the Bay Area to start buying homes with my business partner, who's a real estate developer. And we were going to start converting garages into additional dwelling units, because there's no housing out in the Bay Area, and they passed this law and you could add like 600 square feet to your house. So basically we're going to like fix and flip, but take this angle. And then COVID hit. So I had only been out there a year. I took off, went back to Boulder, and was like, what are we going to do? Like, everything shut down. So
everyone's story is like comes with a pause, and it always ends on, and then COVID hit.
Well,
And
it was
everyone's like,
such-
and I pivoted.
well, it was such a disruptor, right? So I was like sitting at home. I was like, should I write another book? What am I going to do? I started watching tons of Chip and Joanna Gaines, like their Fixer Upper show. And I was like, God, I can do that. So we ended up buying 3 homes in Vail and 11 homes in Southwest Michigan. And it was COVID. So I like was driving to Michigan and just working with me, my business partner, and our designer, and fixing up all these homes and putting them on Airbnb and Vrbo for short-term rentals. And because it was COVID and we were outside of Chicago, we were slammed. Like
Yeah.
we were packed every day. It was like unbelievable. So
Wow.
I learned the whole business myself. I had a housekeeper and I had a maintenance guy, and we just ran the business. People started noticing, reaching out and asking if I could manage their homes for them.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do this. And next thing I know, we're at 50 homes now. We're going to be at 100 homes by April. I
Oh
sold
my
all of our
gosh.
properties and kept the property management contracts, and Juniper was born. I had no
Wow.
idea I was going to work with the public.
Wow.
It didn't cross my mind. So,
Yeah.
I kind of just followed the signs, and here I am.
I love that. So, I have an Airbnb. Obviously, it's a single property, very different. I love the pieces of it that have that human touch, right? Like this weekend, spent some time like writing out thank you notes to leave for the guests for the person who turns our
You do
property
such a
over.
great job,
I'm
Kels.
sure
You
you
leave
Well,
do.
welcome baskets. She
but that's
always
like,
leaves like a thank you. Like she
But
goes
that's
like
part of the
really
gig.
above and beyond.
it's
But
not
I mean,
about
Jackie,
I
me.
notice. I love it.
no, you have to be that way. You don't have to do anything, but if you want to do this right, you have to go above and beyond.
Well, and I think there's been such an interesting like tide that has turned about like vacation rentals. I'm sure you've seen it too. Like there's so much conversation around it. But I love your LinkedIn because I feel like for someone who is managing a lot of properties, right? You're talking about 50 to 100. It seems like the hospitality and the community building is still really at the core of how Juniper is operating in the space. Have you like how do you do that on a scale? Like how do you build that into your team? How do you build
Yeah,
that
Val,
mentality of hospitality?
you make it look super simple, but like
Super easy.
you will like go like this, and a new business will be launched, and not only that, it will have all of these people that are already engaging with it.
Yeah,
Okay,
how do you
it's
do
definitely not easy. So
it?
let's start there. Anytime you have employees plus clients, and you have to remember too, you're managing people's, like, it's a really big investment for them. We have
Yeah,
homes at $4 million. So
yeah,
it's not something that we can take lightly. So it's not easy, but I think it all trickles down from the top down. So it's structured in culture.
yeah,
So the team knows how I feel. We have meetings all the time. We're always talking about, we got to go above and beyond. We have to do everything we can for our guests and our owners. And it might sound like the things we do might sound like, how can that be done? Like if you scale it, but it can. You just need the right people that are all moving towards the same vision. And then that's just how they operate within the company.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's hard. It takes a lot. You have to pick the right people. You have to pick the right people, and they have to share your vision.
yeah. I
It's a really
loved
good
your
point.
post. I loved your post recently about that one of your like something you would have done differently is to hire specialists earlier rather than
Yeah.
working with like a lot of generalists. And I think like when you're building a company, you are building your own little ecosystem, your own little community. I think we are going through that where we're like, we have a lot of great people who can do a lot of things. And now we are seeing a call for more specialized like roles. How do you make that jump? It's really scary.
Well, so I think I talked about probably in that same post that you saw, like working with people that have already done it and done it well, and bringing them on as, like, I call them my Sherpas. So
Hmm.
I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I just wanted to get really good advice and kind of like not waste years trying to figure it all out, because when you start a business, you're going to make a billion mistakes. And I wanted to try and avoid making as many mistakes as possible. So hooking up with people that have already been successful and have been in the business for 20 years, to me, was like a no-brainer. And I'm still working on it, structuring like, an executive team, the people at the top, and getting them on board. And then everything down from them trickles, and they are in charge of their own property management, guest services, owner relations, all of it. There's so many pieces to that. And as long as you have team leaders that are amazing and again are connected to your vision, I think it can be pulled off and scaled. But there has to be structures in place. There has to be procedures in place, or you're dead.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we do a lot of this with the way we hire our contractors. So they're all people who are highly specialized in how they build or how they work. And we've started working with specialists too. And I think one of the things that's so magical about it, and you basically touched on it, is like, obviously they're experts in what they do. And what I like about it is that when you are juggling 5 different areas of a company and you're like, I can't even manage this and I don't want to, and you don't have any ego in it and you don't need to micromanage it, and you look at someone and I just say, go. And people look at me with a little bit of disbelief that I'm actually going to hand over the keys to the kingdom. And I'm like, no, you clearly know what you're doing. And I'm just going to trust you. Like, I'm going to give you input based on what you need. I'm going to answer all the questions for you. And like, anytime I've worked with a specialist, like I'm working with one again right now that we worked with last year for positioning. And it is like a week of me just like answering questions. And I'm like, ask me whatever you need, but then you're just gonna take it and you're gonna run with it, because I don't have.
Will people report to that person then instead of you?
Oh no, this is just like short-term contracts. And so this is someone that will come in and then we'll do it that way. But we are starting to like think about an executive team and what that looks like too.
Yeah, because it's
which
exhausting
is really
after
interesting.
a while. If everyone's reporting to you, then it's like you're going to burn out, right? So that's that's the rub. So we do like, we're bringing on this system called EOS. It's just an operating system for a company, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel again, but I want a structure in place so there's checks and balances and I'm not micromanaging. So that EOS is a great system. And the best thing,
you're the second person that's brought that up on this podcast.
Well, I'm starting October 12th, so I'll let you know how it goes. I've read all the books and stuff, but you really need someone to help you through
implement
it. Exactly. And then I just learned about Culture Index. I did a 2-day course down in Kansas City. This is a game changer. Okay. So you think that you can read people, but we're like all on Zoom and you're interviewing people and you get a gut feeling and they tell you what you want to hear and all of those good things. But with Culture Index, they're taking this survey and it's really telling you a ton about their personality and, more importantly, how they work. Are they good with people? Like, what do they love to do? Do they like to work alone? How should you interact with them? How can you motivate them? They break it down into all these areas. I do not even interview people now until they take that Culture Index and I read it, because a person that's going to be a bookkeeper is very different than someone, let's say, that's going to be working directly with your clients.
Right.
So it's cuts to the chase. I just won't even interview you unless you're the right fit for the position. And Culture Index, I mean, it's magic. It makes me feel like I'm psychic.
We have to check that out. Speaking of being psychic, you have this whole other piece of you, which is that you are a person who is deeply spiritual, super curious about this, the world outside of work. You've written some really incredible books.
Thanks.
We got connected when you wrote Enlightenment is Sexy. I want to talk a little bit about your newer book. And I also am super curious, like, how do these two spaces Like, how do they live within you? You know, you have two really separate communities that probably have some crossover, but you know, what's that like to have this other side of you that's outside of your corporate boss, you know, queen of the empire
I think
moments?
the other side isn't even another side. That's just who I
Mhm.
really am, and it bleeds into everything I do.
Yeah.
So I notice it the most when I'm interacting with people because I feel so connected to them, and like
Yeah.
it's deeper than just like, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. I feel, I don't know, just very connected to even strangers. And I think that's that spiritual side of me that feels connected to everything in the world. It really
Yeah.
spills over when I'm interacting with people. So whether it's employees or homeowners or just people I'm meeting for business or whatever, it doesn't move. It's always the same, this thing in me. And it's like the greatest gift I've ever been given. It's I think the only reason I've had any success in my life.
Mhm. Tell us about In Deep Shift.
In Deep Shift really pertains to most people. There's going to be a time in all of our lives that something is going to shake us to our core. It could be a divorce. It could be you lose all your money, someone dies, you get sick. It's going to be something. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing, but that's usually what wakes us up. And it's
Mhm.
what happens to you after this big kahuna shift happens in your life because you
Mhm.
really are a different person. And it's
Mhm.
kind of hard to navigate those waters if you don't have other people to talk to that really understand the mechanics behind a spiritual shift like that, because that old person's gone. And
Yeah.
that is connecting you to like old friends, probably not going to have the same relationships. You probably want to quit your job, move across the country, move to another country. Like you are a different person, and that can get very overwhelming and very confusing. So
Mhm.
I wanted to write about it because I don't want people to feel alone because they don't need to be. I
I
get it.
love that. I love that. I mean, I know Mel and I have both gone through our own like seismic shifts. We've ended up being more of constant in each other's lives, despite the fact that like everything has changed.
Mhm.
But I, you know, one of my initial curiosities about you is how do you're always somewhere new and you always seem to be at home wherever you are. Like, how do you cultivate community when you are visiting so many different places? You like gave up your house, right? You're just on the road now for a while.
I mean, it's on the market, so it'll sell. And yeah, I wanted that. I get my energy from being in new places and meeting new people.
Mhm.
So, it makes me feel good. So I like
Yeah.
it. That might change one day, but I've kind
Mhm.
of been this way my whole life. So
Yeah.
I think it's just who I am. Now I like alone time too, but as long as I'm in like a comfortable place and I can like go out and meet new people and see new things and have new experiences, then I'm happy. So it's just, I think, how I'm built.
Yeah. Didn't you meet your business partner at a coffee shop? Like in
I met my business partner at a random dinner. I was having dinner with one of his friends and he was moving to Boulder the next morning. And the friend was like, hey, do you mind if my friend comes because he's moving to Boulder tomorrow? And then, yeah, I met him. And then, well, you did like 3 websites for him.
That's
so funny. I
And that's
mean,
how it started because I helped him with like marketing and we became friends. And then I got my real estate license in Colorado. And then here we are.
why do I this is such a random question. Why does that story feel tied to goats? Were there goats involved in some way? Were you living at a farm at the time?
I mean, I was living in Iowa, but there'd be more cows and like corn there. But you probably are
Oh,
thinking,
was it when
oh,
you rescued the goat from the fence? Wait.
no, that was a deer.
Hmm,
Okay.
But I'm always
okay.
taking
Man,
pictures.
that was
Of
like a really long time ago.
that was that was like 6 or 7 years ago. That
I
was
was like
crazy.
dipping into the vaults. For some reason, I just remembered it.
I think I'm
I
always
think you
taking pictures with animals, and that's probably the
you're
reason.
always like
Yeah.
rescuing an animal.
Can
I love
I,
me some animals.
Mallory, I have to tell you, I don't know if you know this story, but Val and I met up one time in Boulder and we went to this brewery. We were just, like, I was there visiting my family. She was there. You were living there at the time, I think, maybe moving. And I was like, yeah, let's get drinks. So we met up at this bar and we're sitting around, we're having like a great time, everything's very chill. And then this was at like the peak of the Pokemon Go movement. And we're sitting in this bar. It's quiet. There's maybe 3 other people there. And then all of the sudden, this bar is flooded with
yes, I
people.
forgot.
Flooded.
about that.
And we're just
Yes.
sitting there like, what the hell is going on? Is this a flash mob? But luckily, my husband at the time was also really into Pokemon Go. And he's like, oh, it's a group. They're like out hunting together. And Val and I are just sitting there like,
I totally forgot about that. That was hilarious. Yes.
and
Oh
the
my
best part is
I'm
most of them
upset.
were underage. And
Whatever
then like
gets
as soon as they
whatever
were
gets
there,
the kids out. Let's go.
I
Whatever
know,
gets
like
the kids
they
out.
were there, they caught their Snorlax, and then off they went. And we were just sitting there like,
Good, clean fun.
what just happened?
I forgot about that. That's hilarious.
That's hilarious.
You
visiting
just
your
you
cousin.
attract people. Yeah, my
I
cousin
don't
lives
know if
there.
Yeah, you
attracted
attract people.
I don't know if I attracted like a Pokemon flash mob, but thanks.
What's it like having kind of 2 different clients, right? You've got your community of homeowners that you're working with to manage their properties. And then you have individual guests. I don't imagine that those are in tension with each other, but I guess sometimes they may have different needs. But as a
Totally.
company, to serve 2 different audiences, to serve 2 different communities, what's that like for you all?
I mean, it's super challenging. Like, again, we decided from the beginning that we were going to be, a luxury brand. We were going to go above and beyond. And that's how we were going to establish ourselves. So we're constantly trying to be like, okay, what do you need? What can we do for you? Like, it's just like who we are. And yeah, that can get exhausting, but then you have like amazing things happen at your house. Like, we had a group of girls. I'm actually going to interview them on Saturday. And one of their girlfriends has terminal cancer and they wanted to all get away, stay at this house. The name of the house is Casi Cielo, which means like near heaven. And they all got the tattoo of the house on their arms during their stay.
Oh,
And so
I
it's
love
like
it.
stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, it's not just, see, this is what makes vacation rentals different than hotels. You are totally creating experiences, mainly for families or
Yeah.
bigger groups of friends in these beautiful homes. It's not like
Yeah.
a hotel room with a bed and you're not getting together. So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of magical things happen in these homes with the owners too. And that's what really keeps me going.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm
Yeah.
always looking for the magic. That's like my heroine, right?
Yes. You're really good at that. You're really, really good at finding that spark in those situations.
I love it. I love it. So that makes it all worth it. But yes, it's like people running a Ritz-Carlton, they are like going above and beyond. And it takes so many employees. It's labor intensive. You're losing money sometimes, but like if you decide that that's the route you're going to take, then you have to commit and that's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I worked for a Kimpton property
Mhm.
for a while when I was younger, and I reached out to my GM at the time because he was so like, I was a host at a restaurant in Chicago for a few years. And there's like no manager who's ever been more impactful in my like leadership development than this person. And I'll never forget like the concierge team at the Kimpton. It would be like every time they would get a special request, the concierge team was like incentivized to go out and like make that wish happen.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think like it's fun. That's the thing, is it's not a job. It's
Best
like at
part.
that point, it's the best part, right? Because you're able to kind of go above and beyond and create those moments of joy. And I think that's like the fun of hospitality, right?
That is the heart of hospitality. Have you
Yeah.
been watching or have you watched The Bear season 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so did you see them when they were at Alinea and they got the
Mhm.
Pequod's pizza? I
Mhm.
made my whole team watch that. And did we lose Kelsey?
I'm here.
Oh,
My
she'll
camera.
be back.
Yeah. No,
That's
I'm
okay.
here.
I made everybody watch that and also read the book Unreasonable Hospitality because I was like, this is who we
Yeah.
are. Like, this is in a TV show, but this is who we are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I have a girl that all she does is run gifts. Like, that's
That's
her job.
awesome. That's awesome. I aspire to that. We have our agency assistant, Samantha, who we've we've dubbed the the joy concierge, because I
I
think it's
love
just
that.
like it's so fun for us to be able to create those moments for people. Um, yeah, it's that. I mean, that's why you do it, right?
Yeah,
That's why it exists.
you pretty much just
Um,
nailed it. So
what's the big dream for Juniper? You're adding a ton of new properties this year. Like, what are some of your more community oriented aspirations or dreams for the company? Whether it's your internal team, your clients, your homeowners. Like, what's in the future?
well, so yesterday I was up in Traverse City and we met with the community college up there, which is gorgeous and like in the most amazing area right off the water. And I mean, Traverse City is so fabulous.
Gorgeous.
Oh my God, it's
So
amazing.
it's amazing. So they are thinking about having us build a bunch of homes connected
Oh
to the
wow.
college. And then they asked me to write up a curriculum for a hospitality course that we would connect with the homes. So my idea,
Wow.
like a culinary school, like I could teach them how to run a business like this and actually any type of hospitality, but use the homes as like an example of what to do and then how you build the business around that. So that if that model works and we can take that across the country to different community colleges, that would marry my love of teaching and hospitality and real estate development. Like that would be the trifecta.
Wow, the
So
trifecta.
yeah, we'll
You
see.
can
I
make
mean,
it happen.
it could happen. It felt really right yesterday, and the people that we met with were incredible and open-minded, and they really need a hospitality program. And I felt really excited about it. So it's stuff
That's
like
really
that,
cool.
really, that jazzes me up.
I feel like there's so much space for that, right? You've got Cornell, you've got UNLV, but those are like very focused on hotel hospitality and restaurants,
Mhm.
and not so much in this kind of third space of vacation rentals. So I love that. I love that idea as curriculum.
Yeah, and I told them yesterday, I'm like, they always say like everyone should work at a restaurant or a bar, so they're nice to servers and stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. You work in a restaurant or a bar, so you know how to be good with people, period.
Yeah.
Customer
Yes.
Yes.
service, which is every single industry. So
Yes.
I think it's like restaurants, bars, even what I'm doing. If you can do this, you can do anything because you'll be
Yeah.
good with people.
I love it. I mean, you are so good with people. You are
Right.
I do
people.
I do love people. I mean, sometimes I'm like, what the hell? But mainly I like people. I find them
Right. You
fascinating.
give them the benefit. Yes. I also find them fascinating.
Mhm.
Yes. People.
Yeah,
Hmm.
people and
Curiosity.
animals, both.
Well,
Yes.
yes. Val, we are so tickled. Thank you for sharing some time with us today. We know you are an incredibly busy person.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
we will make sure to share Val's book in Deep Shift, which is beautiful and whole, like soulful and important. And we'll also share the link to Juniper so that you can pick out your next vacation rental stay.
Thanks.
But yeah, Val, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Val.
ladies. Thank
So
you.
good to see you all the time. Every time we get to see you,
Mhm.
and we have to get
Mhm.
together
We
soon.
have to do it. Let's
Yes.
do it.
Yeah. Well, you can subscribe to No Surprises where you get any of your podcasts. You can also watch this delightfulness on YouTube. Our website is weekofthewebsite.com, and you can also find us on Instagram at weekofthewebsite. And we will be back next week for the penultimate episode of season 3 of No Surprises.